It is draft week. It is finally here. Round one starts, of course, on Thursday. And part of that coverage, Daniel Jeremiah will be on NFL Network at 8 Eastern. But we do this every year. DJ joins us. McShay joins us. McShay will be back with us after the first round here on the show on Friday morning, special show. So let's get into it, guys. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, it's good to be with everybody. This is like a tradition, man. This is like our little annual tradition now.
I like this. Good to see DJ, too. It's been a minute.
Good to see you, buddy.
Okay, DJ, let's start with you. Quarterbacks. I don't want to do a ton of time on this because we've already spent so much time on it, but it's the week of, and then I really want you guys to ask each other questions, and I'll try to get out of the way as much as I can until the end. But just where are you with them? Is there one out of this group that scares you? Let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up Caleb, I ended up Drake, and then I ended up Jaden. I think Jaden played the easiest thing I think that everybody can agree on is that Jaden played the best this year of all the guys. But in the total evaluation, putting everything into place, I'd go back to what Drake did the year before. I think Drake, just with the sturdiness to him, matters to me a little bit. I think you'll see the benefit for him going to the next level. He's gonna be the guy who gets to go play with better people and not be overmatched as much as he was with the group that he had. So that was kind of my tiebreaker there with those. But I mean, to me, there's those three guys. They're not that far off from each other. And then to me, there's a separator as we get into the other QBs.
Yeah, I was a little different, and maybe I did get caught up in Jaden Daniels this past year and what I saw. But I also, in talking to Brian Kelly and seeing his evolution and kind of being on the field with Brian pre-game against Tennessee a couple of years ago, and knowing specifically what they were working on in terms of trusting his eyes and letting it rip, and seeing how he progressed in the second half of 2022 and then, carried it over into 2023. I just think he continues to ascend. And durability is concerning with his frame. He was 185 pounds at Arizona State just a few years ago, rushed for over 3,300 yards, I think, in his 5 years in college. I mean, that's a concern, but he continues to bulk up. He's going to have to be smart about how he protects himself. But if you're just basing it off the tape, and I don't know that you would disagree because you kind of just said it, DJ. Yeah. If you're just basing it off of the 2023 tape, it's kind of 1 and 1A with Caleb and Jaden. So, is that just 1 year? Is that circumstance for Drake May? Is that circumstance for Caleb and what he was trying to overcome this year? We'll see. I view it a little bit more as the progression that we saw from Jaden in a system that required him to go through progressions and to learn how to get the ball out and to trust his eyes and trust his read rather than just waiting to see it come open, which is what he was doing for the first 3 seasons of his career. So for me, it's Caleb 1, it's Jaden 2. Then there would be a small gap with Drake May. And the only reason I'll say this, and I'm curious to get your opinion, we haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
I think if Drake is in a situation where he gets a year or even a portion of a first season to kind of sit back, I think that the adjustment he's going to have to make coming off the year he had and coming from the system that he was in, I think of all these quarterbacks, Drake would benefit the most from redshirting, if you will, as a rookie. If he's thrown in right away with a supporting cast that's not great, I worry about what that will do for him and his confidence. But to me, that's kind of that to me was the big concern with Drake May, why I put him at number 3. And I think we both agree they're all 3 ahead of JJ McCarthy, but JJ belongs in that conversation as a potential top 10 pick.
Yeah. One thing I would say on that is, I think as we are talking right now, I think he's going to be in New England, and I think the plan would be for Jacoby Brissett to run out there. If I was personally, looking at what they have in New England, just my personal opinion, the first decision I would make if I was Drake May is I would probably get like a $5,000 spa certificate and send it to Jacoby Brissett and be like, dude, keep stretching, stay loose, protect yourself. I'm not really in a hurry to jump out there with this group that you have in front of me there. But I would love this, Todd. Like, I'm curious what you'd say on this, because I know like the progressions is obviously when you watch Jaden, you'll see that more so. How would you, if you're going to give a letter grade A to F and compare the offensive line at LSU versus the offensive line at Carolina or at SC, like how would you letter grade those 3 offensive lines?
Let's go B plus LSU, USC C minus, D plus, and D for D minus for UNC. Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference. There's no question. Yeah. I get where you're going. I completely do. And it's what makes
with the Panthers
all
being
of
last
these factors. Exactly.
They dropped the class, Ryan. They dropped the class.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm just a little bit reluctant when it's, look, he's more comfortable. He's more poised in the pocket. He gets deeper into progression. So I'm like, well, frick, when you watch USC, they're rushing 3 and dropping 8 and getting beat like right off the snap. Like, I don't know what, you think Caleb's just going to sit in there? Like, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah. And with Caleb, like, I feel like it's a very similar report, but we learned from Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like hero ball. Can he play within the system? Can he, is he going to go through his progressions? Is he going to be patient? Like all the same things. We're bad mechanics, gotten into some bad habits, all the same things we were talking about with Patrick, which dinged him in the process. But we've learned from those mistakes, and they were very, whether you had him as one of the top 10 prospects, whether you had him mid first round, whatever it was, he wasn't the first overall pick. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing how special Patrick was. But he also had a year to sit behind Alex Smith. He also had Andy Reid developing him.
Oh, it's perfect.
You know what I mean? So that's the stuff we spend all this time, 15 months preparing for a draft and 5 months talking about ad nauseum. What we don't have the benefit of is like who's coaching him? What's the situation? When's he going to start? All those things. I mean, we know with Caleb for the most part because we know where he's going and what's in place. But for all these other quarterbacks, there's that unknown.
Is Minnesota? I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm hijacking this. Is Minnesota fail-proof?
It's the closest thing that there is.
I just look at it. Everybody's like, "Who's going to be the?" And I'm like, well, "I don't know."
Well, JJ could be the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy, if that's what winds up happening. Let's just say it plays out the way you're talking about. And I still think I'm interested to see what New England does. Like, it's either going to be like, we were idiots for even entertaining the fact that New England would move out of 3. Of course, they were going to stick at 3 and take Drake May, which I think is absolutely the most likely scenario. But there is some buzz that New England's looking at potential options to move back up, all that stuff. But let's just say it's Caleb 1, Jaden 2 to Washington, and Drake May goes 3 to New England. Mm-hmm. I think Arizona sits at 4 and takes Marvin Harrison Jr. I really do. Unless, let's say JJ McCarthy goes number 3 in a surprise, or Jaden doesn't go number 2, or Drake goes number 2 and Jaden's sitting there 3. And so it depends on what happens. But assuming they'll have offers, Monty Austinforth, the GM for the Cardinals, will have offers, but they're not like ridiculous offers.
Yeah.
He'll stick at 4 and take Marvin Harrison Jr. And we both know Joe Ortiz comes from the Baltimore tree. They've made a living, that organization, and what he's been around his whole career, like being patient, let the board fall to you, but let's take advantage of people who we can exploit trying to move up. So I think the most likely scenario is those 3 quarterbacks go, Marvin Harrison Jr. goes, and then Minnesota makes a deal to go to number 5 with the Chargers. And I know you have a lot of ties with the Chargers, so I'm curious to see what you think in reaction to that.
Yeah, to me, this is one of the things I was talking to somebody, and it wasn't Joe, but somebody else there, and said, they brought up a great point, which was Harbaugh can look at the situation he's going into, walking into a division with Kansas City. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to walking into Stanford when you had Oregon and SC. You had 2 high-flying teams, and he literally went into their conference and just decided, I'm going to beat them up. Mm-hmm. So that's why when I get pushback, trust me, like as someone who calls the Charger games, every time I talk about them taking an offensive lineman, they freak out. And they're like, how? They need receivers. They lost, Keenan and Mike. Mm-hmm. They've got to take a receiver at 5. And I'm like, I don't think that's his formula. Like he has his formula and he's stuck to it the whole time, to the point where I got to turn in this last mock draft, Todd. And I'll be honest with you, I'm thinking about putting Latham at 5 to the Chargers. And just saying,
because he's more of a mauler.
The biggest, baddest dude from the SEC who's 340 pounds. He's played right tackle. I don't have to mess with Slater. Joe's an Auburn guy. Joe has been with Ozzie forever. They've collected so many Alabama players with the Ravens over the years. Like it's a flag in the ground, first pick of this new era. We've talked about running the ball. We've talked about the offensive line. We want to try and beat up the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, who's the baddest bully in the block? And then I'm like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not Alt, who I have as a top tackle. I don't know where you are, but maybe it's Latham is their guy there.
Yeah, and I've said, Ryan and I have talked about this. I think the Chargers are one of a few teams that are looking at this thing as the combo picks. I like to call the combo scenarios, right? The scenario of If we go, let's say Malik Neighbors, great pick, explosive guy. He could provide a vertical presence, Justin Herbert, all that. But then where do you go at offensive tackle? Like we're talking about this. We're talking about this tackle group, right? Is like one of the best in the decade, right?
Yeah, but they're all gone by the time you're picking two.
All Latham, Fuaga, Fashanu, Mims, Fuatanu,
Guyton,
and Guyton, and then it's like, you know. So like, whereas wide receiver, you get in the second round, you're like, all right, we got Ladd McConkey, maybe we got Ricky Pearsall. We've got, Xavier Legette. We've got Keon Coleman. Like, there's other options that you can bring in. So you kind of have to look at that as a combination of the two. That's why I think these tackles go. And then teams are like, all right, we'll circle back in round 2 and get a wide receiver.
Okay, talking about the movement here. We know that Howie Roseman's moved up, 4 times in the first round. We know Casario's had 18 trades, I think, in the last 3 drafts. Todd, let's start with you, because this has always been this New England thing that you've talked about, and I really feel like our disagreement wasn't so much could it happen, it was just how much you're exposing yourself to threading a needle to have to get it right, kind of 3 ways: trading out, trading back up, and then taking the quarterback that's not maybe positioned as high in the draft, because it's like, hey, we got all this extra stuff because we like the 4th guy more than everybody's 3rd or 2nd guy. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the point is, like, Todd, and then we'll kind of throw it to TJ, who's been in the room and done it. Like, how would you look at these few days? You're saying it's not just about the players. Like, Caserio clearly looks at this as some kind of test of like, how much can I possibly move around, and then how big is my bounty after the 4 days?
Just to give you some background, DJ, I brought up this scenario, I don't know, about a month ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, of New England. Maybe I had been talking to people saying, we're getting calls. New England's kind of active. It would be interested to see what's going on in New England, fielding calls, hearing some buzz, people I'm talking to have talked to New England, all that potentially, like, just based off of kind of putting the dots together, maybe they're going to try to move out of that 3 spot because they like a 4th quarterback, and then could move down, let's say, to 11 with Minnesota, and then use less to move back up to maybe 5 to go get a quarterback, right? Arizona did something similar last year, right? And I've been working with Ryan for like 20 years, okay? He has never looked at me with more disdain and written off something. And then all of a sudden, Albert Breer comes out with it, and in his Monday morning quarterback. And then this past week, Shefty was one of his buzz things coming in the weekend. So I still don't think it's going to happen. So I'm in this weird spot where, like, I told you so, but it's still not going to happen. Yeah. But that's the background of this whole thing. But now, go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. Finish your thought there.
I was just like, to me, in the conversations I've had in the last week, and I'm curious to see what you're hearing. Obviously, a lot with Minnesota. More people I've talked to say that watch out for the Giants. The Giants have had interest, and not just moving up, but maybe even moving back from that number 6 spot. But there is a quarterback that if they could strike a deal, they would want to go get. I would guess it's Drake May. That's from based off my intel. I've been hearing Chicago at 9 wants to bail out. I'm interested to see with Joe Douglas and the Jets. It's not a comfortable neighborhood for him to be in, not having a 2nd round pick. We know what they're trying to accomplish there and the urgency there. So is that Brock Bowers? Is it an offensive lineman? Or maybe, hey, we can move back a few spots to a team that might be trying to move up. Is it Denver? I keep hearing Denver now. Like, the more I'm talking to people in the league, Denver's not moving up. They're moving back. They want to move back, right? Is it the Raiders with Michael Penix? That I keep hearing. So I'm just curious. And obviously, I've heard about the Chargers, and everyone, it's the worst secret in the world that the Eagles are making calls to everybody about moving around again. Howie can't help himself. Yeah.
Well, there's so much there. Like, I'll start with New England. I was talking to a general manager last night who said the pick's not going to be for sale. Like, they said New England's going to stick and pick. So that was, again, that's from somebody last night. And here's the other part, like, all trying to figure this thing out. Like, I try and just take all the different pieces of information a part of the process. You're never going to know, but we're doing the same thing here, right? You're just trying to take what you get and try and come to a logical conclusion. So with my experiences with this situation, calling the Charger games, went to New England last year. Stadium was half empty. It was rainy. It was not a great day. New England got shut out. Having been in that stadium a zillion times over the Brady years, and how much buzz and juice and excitement was in that building, it was deader than a doornail. And one thing quarterbacks do is they provide hope. Whether or not they're going to be good or not, you hope for the best, but they will provide, at least in the short term, some hope and some life injected into your organization.
Robert Kraft will not allow this first round to go without a quarterback.
So that's my whole point. And then here's like a couple other layers to it. In free agency, I know when they were talking to some offensive players and trying to get them to sign, when they asked to lay out the plan was we're going to sign a quarterback for $8 to $10 million, and we're going to take a quarterback at $3. Well, they gave Jacoby Brissett $8 million or whatever. I think it was like literally on the nose of what they told some of these people.
Check that box
off. I'm
off.
like, that one's checked. Well, if they didn't lie about that, I don't know why they'd be lying about number 3. And then the last point of it is, it's easy when you have your quarterback in place, i.e. Arizona, i.e. Monty Ossenfort. We can get cute and creative and this, and then, hey, worst case scenario, we missed out on that, but we love this. When you don't have the quarterback, you do not get cute. You take the quarterback. So that's why. And it was like last year, if you remember at this time, people were like, Houston, they might just take Will Anderson at 2. I don't know if they love. I'm like, guys, I was in that stadium with a Charger game. There's nobody there. It's dead. Like if I'm the owner, if that's my team, I'm like, guys, I don't care which one, but you're taking a quarterback. This place needs some juice and some life. So that's kind of how I feel about those teams just sticking and picking 1 through 3. I think the Chargers would love to get out of 5. But I'm beginning to think Minnesota and the Giants are both Drake May teams. Both tried like crazy to get into the mix to 3, assuming Jaden goes 2. And I don't think New England's doing it. So once that's off the table, as we are right now, I feel like Minnesota is even saying, we like JJ at 11. We don't have enough conviction that we're going to part with all we'll have to part with, because now, like basically if you're comparing JJ to Penix, if they feel like, hey, worst case scenario, JJ's gone, but we get Penix, it's not Penix versus JJ. It's Penix versus JJ and the other players represented by the picks we're going to have to part with, there. So I'm getting Penix plus 2 to 3 players. That's the comparison versus just JJ McCarthy. So I'm thinking Minnesota might just hold their water here at 11.
They could. And you're right. Like Michael Penix, like we talked about coming into the year, Michael Penix was like, certainly not anywhere close to where he is. That some people had, like, I'm talking to people like in 5th, 6th round, 3rd, 4th, and so to see what he's done, and to see where he's come, and even just a few weeks ago, like the buzz with Penix was like, second round, solid second round. Yeah. Now it's like, not only is it first round, but it's like, hey, Penix could be the reason why we're comfortable staying at 11, like you said, for Minnesota. Like he could be kind of the wild card in all of this.
Okay, that was awesome, by the way, guys. Let's talk about Ryan. A position that we haven't talked about literally at all. Who's the first running
over there?
Yeah.
It makes me feel good.
Yeah, right. Don't you feel better?
Yeah, I feel great.
I wanted to unplug my mic. I was like, let's just have them say goodbye at the end of this. First running back, and which number? Like, could we set a record here for the latest it takes for a running back to go off the board?
What was it? Bishop Sankey was like 57 or in the mid to high 50s. I don't think it'll. It's tough. I don't think it'll be that high, but it will be in the second round. I think it's going to be Jonathan Brooks from Texas. What do you think, DJ?
Yeah, I think Dallas is going to be the first team to jump on that ride. I think they're like 56. I don't have it in front of me. I think they're in the mid 50s somewhere. Yeah. But they pick like 56 and then like in the 80s. And I think in between those. Yeah, that's like the running back spot. So to me, like, I don't have that. Like I have Marshawn Lloyd as my top running back.
Yep.
I think I have Brooks at number 2. But there's like from the 1 to 6, like there's 6 to 7 running backs. There's really not that much difference to me. Like there's nobody that's way above the other person. Where the gamble is, if you're Dallas, do I want to be the first one in line at this ride? Or can I wait until 86 and hope that I can get the last seat on the ride before the ride's over? I think that because of where they are at the position, they probably are going to take it at the front, taking it in the second round. But I can't find a spot for running back before that. And I'm not like 100% convinced that they're going to do it there, but I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think it's going to be like, hold. Like the league as a whole is going to be like, hold.
I'm not doing it. You don't do it. I won't do it. Yeah.
Because like we all know there's not that elite. We had 2 first-round picks. Like there's not that talent in this year's class, right? But there is some depth. So I think once you see the first guy come off the board and then the second running back. So let's say it's Brooks and then Lloyd. Yeah. But after that, like there are some good backs that are like in that 3rd, 4th round range. I think we're going to see a run. Like you got Benson from Florida State. You got Blake Corum from Michigan. You've got
the kid from Kentucky.
Davis from Kentucky. Ray Davis from Kentucky. Jalen Wright from Tennessee. Yep. Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. So there's a bunch of backs that are going to go in that like 3rd, 4th round range. Mm-hmm. But I think it's going to be that second running back that comes off the board that where everyone's like, all right, now it's time to go.
Jacob Hester Award. Anything for Will Shipley here?
What number? Hold on. I'll see what number I had him overall, and then I'll look at where I had him positionally. Let me see. I had him as Shipley. I had him as my 92nd player. He was my 6th running back.
So you got him in the top 100.
So he made the top 100. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got him more like one. I don't have it right in front of me. It's like 120. I think 4th round. I talked
to somebody, a mutual friend, and he were like, let's go over our top, like, give me your top 5 running backs. And like, literally, like his 4th running back is like my 14th running back.
Yes,
and like vice versa.
Yeah. I talked to someone recently and it was Ray Davis, who you just mentioned from Kentucky, number 2 running back.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, am I off? I'm like, what?
No, yeah. Well, this one was like, I'm not a big Braylon Allen guy. I just think he's a big guy. I don't think he runs hard. I don't, plays to his size. And he had him like as the 2nd or 3rd running back. So I'm like,
right.
You know what, at the end of the day, it means? It means like if there's not any consensus, it means they're probably all just okay. That's what that is.
The Braylon Allen one, I kind of love because like you said something in the beginning with Drake May where I go, I can't quit 2 years ago tape. I just can't. And I'll admit, like some of the Jaden 2 years ago tape, I'm probably the only single person that's still like, he was flawless this year, man. Like, what's the hang up? What's the hang up? Like the not trusting anybody. It's over. He trusts people now. He trusts the throws. Like, put that out of your head. And I need to do that. But like, there's that Drake tape from 2 years ago. And the reason I bring it all up is why I still like Drake more. I feel like not than you guys right now, but like some of the Drake stuff that I'll see here late. And granted, the late mock movement literally means nothing inside of the war rooms. It's just all the outside stuff trying to catch up. I was like, so wait, now everybody doesn't like Drake? I'm like, I would take a chance to be wrong with him. I think I'd be okay with it. Certainly more so than J.J. McCarthy. But when you look at Braylon Allen, you're like, okay, if you have him too, does that mean like you watched his freshman year?
Right.
Because he when he came onto the scene, you're going, all right, this is, and then, I mean, I think at some point, if you were a non-Big Ten fan, you're like, oh yeah, that guy.
It feels like 15, 17, 20 years ago, where it's like the Wisconsin running back rate in college doesn't translate to the NFL. Like, it feels like that. It's like, I've seen this movie before, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was my 123rd guy.
We're good.
What is that like? That's like the bottom of the 4th round. This is Braylon Allen podcast. Is this on the teaser for the thing?
This has to be the most Braylon Allen
breakdown. Braylon Allen in depth breakdown. By the way, I just want to ask you guys one question because I'm curious on this. I've heard this more than anything else. I haven't talked to anybody, and I truthfully, I kind of with what Ryan was just saying. I do think Jaden has just, I think better days are here. He's solved a lot of his ills. I get that, but I feel like he doesn't necessarily get punished for his sins at Arizona State, while Bo Nix gets eviscerated for the Auburn years.
Michael Penix for Indiana.
Yeah.
Michael, there's still some guys out there that I talked to who had Penix like in their, in their region, in their area. Yeah. And still, like, I can't get over the Indiana stuff.
If you talk to anybody that was even all the way up to the general manager level that saw him at Auburn or studied him at Auburn, they can't let it go.
I have a hard time too. If I'm being honest,
they can't let it go. So that's what I mean. That's why. But this isn't a good place to just come straight. But because I know a couple people listen to Russillo's podcast. But it's unfair. You make a good point because I'm over Jaden Daniels' stuff at Arizona State. I'm over Penix's stuff at Indiana. But man, that was hard to watch at Auburn. I know, but I just think it's fascinating because I hear it all the time. And look, I have him. I think I have I have Knicks. I think I might be the only one who has Knicks over Penix, but they're both in like the early 30s for me. I think he has to go to a very specific place, and it's in the Rockies. But like that's
too bad they don't have a second round pick. Well, they could get one by moving out,
and that's one of the reasons why I've heard the same thing that you have going back to the trade stuff is that they want to move back.
I was talking to Kuiper the other day. He's like, "This is the first time I'll ever ask you anything about a mock draft, and the last time ever." He goes, Bo Nix. He goes, I keep wanting to put him at Denver because I keep hearing Denver, but I don't know. Like, if he doesn't go to Denver, he doesn't go anywhere else. I was like, that tells you everything you need to know, Mel. Like,
Gosh, this is a good therapy session right there. That's great.
Yeah, it was. I felt like I did my job for the day.
No, but it's a really good point too. I mean, we're all victim of our own confirmation bias and stuff. But like, if you want to play the 2 years ago game, then that's why Caleb Williams should go 1, and like no one should be allowed to go to 2. Like it should start at 3. Like that's how special he was 2 years ago. And I still think it's funny when I'll see like a Caleb clip, and sometimes it'll be somebody trying to make a point about. I certainly can't watch the game to the level that you guys can. But I'll go like, did you try to make a point that he's not good in this clip? Because do you realize what he just did?
Right.
Like, this is
even to make a mistake, he had to do all that to
Right. So let's go to the other side of the ball. It doesn't get enough love before the mocks. And I want you guys to take this wherever you want to take it, because much like quarterbacks, like, hey, he's going to go here, he's going to go here. Let's talk about some defensive names. You're like, I don't care about the system. I don't care about your coverage. I don't care about what you're asked to. Like, I'm fine. This guy's going to play no matter what we want to do. Where we know there's other players, especially on the defensive line, it feels like, where it's like, okay, he's a great fit here. He's not a good fit here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I think the great example of that is, and Todd, I'd love to know what you got on this, but like I get asked a lot about the top 3 edge rushers, right? So if you're looking at Turner, you're looking at Latu, and you're looking at Verse. I'm like, I have it Turner versus Latu, but Latu's injury factors a lot into that.
Yeah,
I would say Latu's the clear most polished pass rusher of the 3.
Yep.
But you've got the uncertainty and the cloudiness of the injury. Turner has got all the traits and still just hasn't put it all together yet. But I'm kind of betting on the traits. I feel like of those 3 guys, like Jared Verse, I know 100% who he is. He comes in clear packaging. You're going to widen him out, and you're going to let him just create a chaos with his power. He's going to try and go to the chest of everybody that he goes up against. And if you don't have breaks as a right tackle, you're going to have a long day against him. But like if you're a team in the AFC North, you love Jared Verse. It is rough and rugged, and we're going to set the edge, and we're going to beat people up. And then you talk to some of the dome teams in the passing divisions, and they're like, I don't know. He just doesn't have a plan as a rusher. And it's like, you either are or you aren't. You're a Verse team or you're not a Verse team.
Yeah, I agree. And Verse to me, like we talked about Will Anderson last year, kind of I'm not saying they're the same player, but
he's in that same family. They're not brothers. They might be cousins.
That's what I'm saying. Like the heavy hands, the power, everything is done with authority, and he's going to make it a long day for you, long day for you. So, and you're betting on the upside with Dallas Turner. Mm-hmm. You know what you're getting with Verse, and you would know what you're getting off the tape with Latu, but the medical, the neck and medically retired and all of that, like that's the concern. So what's interesting to me too is we get closer to the draft and everyone has locked it in, and it may be the case. Every mock, I was telling Ryan recently, like I don't think I've read another mock draft for 15 years of doing this because I was spending too much time on my own damn mock draft. But now I got extra time this year. I'm on my phone. I'm reading DJ's mock and some guy I don't even know his name's mock, and I'm just like messing around. Everyone's got Dallas Turner going to Atlanta at 8, right?
Yep.
But I keep being told by people in the league, like, it wouldn't shock me if Byron Murphy was first defensive player off the board. Byron Murphy to me is one of the most intriguing players because how many elite defensive tackles are in the league? How many teams are dying to have an impact guy closest? The easiest path to a quarterback is coming right up the middle at them and disrupting quarterbacks in the league, getting them off the spot. Like, it's such an important element of what you do with a 3 or 4 man rush too. Like, so Byron Murphy makes a lot of sense to come off the board earlier than expected. Even though I like the upside with Turner. I love Jared Verse. I love Latu's tape and his ability, and I think he's the most polished. His hands, the way he ties his hands and feet, and I even think Chopper Robinson's got a chance to be a really, really impactful pass rusher as he continues to develop. But Byron Murphy to me is kind of that. Keep an eye out. He could be a surprise.
The one thing real quick on that, Byron Murphy and everybody that I talk to that's in the trade down scenario, I'm going to trade back. Like, who's in your mix? Byron Murphy. Everybody that's in the trade up scenario from the back kind of come up. Who's in your mix? Byron Murphy. I'm like, well, Freck, everybo's either trading down for this guy or trading up for this guy. It means a lot of people like this guy.
Exactly.
I wouldn't rule that out. And then like, this is the idiocy of mock drafts and the challenges and the mental games that we play. And Todd, I know you appreciate this. It was like, I had a team tell me like, hey, Atlanta's taking either, Latu or they're taking Turner. They're taking an edge rusher. And they go, now remember, Latu played for Jimmy Lake at UW.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. And then I hung up the phone and I went, okay, so is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because they medically retired him when he was with Jimmy Lake. They sent him to 5 doctors and they wouldn't let him play football anymore.
Right.
But he also, I'm sure, was involved in the recruiting and loved him as a player.
As a guy, yep.
So I'm like, well, so does this mean that they're taking him or does this mean that they're not taking him? I don't know what to do with that information.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with Latu because we all know what he is as a player. He's one of the 15 best football players in this draft. If he gets out of the top 16, 17, it's because you're scared to death that you're only going to get a couple years out of him, or it's going to be on the field, off the field.
You guys have been so good on the info. Before we get to the closing segment here, can I just ask you each with what you feel comfortable sharing? Kind of like, I know in the NBA world, it'd be like, what's the one thing you hear over and over and over again? And maybe, Daniel, you just gave us yours with the Murphy anecdote. But is there just like, hey, here's another one that always seems that this player landing here, maybe later in the first round?
I'll give you my last one would be Howie calling everybody to move up. And then everybody assuming that it's for the corner because that's a big need for them. And then the fact that, and everybody knows around the league because I've heard it from so many different people, like, dude, Lito Shepherd, man, last time they took a corner, he ain't taking a corner. They're trading up for a tackle. They're going to trade up and they're going to take an offensive lineman. So that's like the one that I've heard a bunch around the
league. The Raiders thing has been interesting because everyone is screaming about the relationship with Antonio Pierce and they want to move up and Jaden Daniels and it's like, well, how can they move up to number 2 and why would Washington want to move out? But it's like, well, there's a lot of recruiting problems and Antonio Pierce wound up having to resign or and then the a lot of different smoke. And I hang up from one phone call and it's like, hey, the Raiders love Jaden and Jaden wants to be in Las Vegas. And then the other calls I have, it's like the one place I can promise you that Jaden doesn't want to be or that doesn't work is the Raiders with Jaden Daniels. So that has been, I've had several calls about that relationship and what that means.
Okay. Well, that's a great way to start. We call it On the Clock, or I probably have changed the name a few different times. So not super rigid. You could steal it. Where I'm going to give each of our guests here the chance to be GM for this team, for this pick, and then see what they do of the options available to them. Okay? All right. So we'll start with Todd on this one. You are running the Raiders. You're sitting there at 13. We've had some weird drops here. I guess there was a wide receiver run of some sort. Bowers is still there. Dallas Turner somehow still there. And Drake May is still there.
Drake May. Easy.
Drake May. All right. For you, DJ. You're running.
You freaking give him the easy one? What am I going to get now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
DJ, in the 6th round, the Falcons are sitting there.
This is stacked against you, bud. Appreciate you, Ryan.
I'm very much playing a road game here. Absolutely.
Yes.
No, you can actually. Did we go back and forth where I didn't give you both a chance to do it? I don't remember. I don't know. I make these up on the fly here. We got some NBA games to sort through.
Just make it better than the first one, would you?
Do you want that option though? You can answer that one too if you want.
No, I think Todd. I think that was a one-word answer. Yeah.
All right, Daniel. You're the Giants. Running the Giants back in New York. I'm sure you love living in the city. J.J. McCarthy's still there. Drake May is still there at 6. Neighbors is still there. Not shocking. But Tampa calls and offers number 26 this year and their first rounder in 25.
I'm going to do to me, it's the quarterback. I'm taking Drake May.
Yep.
I don't think they're in love with Daniel Jones. I think they have one more year left on that, and they're in an inflection point as an organization. Head coach, general manager. They need to show like the pathway forward for how they're going to get out of this rut that they've been in. And I don't think they feel like Daniel Jones is that guy. And I have a good enough grade on Drake May that I'm not going to pass him.
And that's a real shitty trade, by the way. You need to look at the trade chart next time, Ryan.
I don't look at the trade chart. I have my own trade chart.
Well, your trade chart sucks.
Yeah. So wait. Just
so you're moving from
here.
6 to 26, and I'm only getting a first rounder next year. Do you know how much Minnesota's getting ready to pay to move up to go to number 5?
Hold on. 6 to 26. Now, hold on.
Yeah, we got to look this up.
Go ahead, look it up. What do I have to throw in a third rounder?
1,600 points.
Okay.
Oh, the point thing? What are you?
26 is like 400.
26 is 700 points.
700, okay.
So you need 900 points.
You guys are not.
Actually, if it's the one next year, would be if it's the one next year, it's not.
But next year doesn't have as much value as this year.
I'm assuming next year is a middle. Road.
Yeah, middle.
I'm
assuming Tampa. No, I'm
sweetener.
looking at it. Okay, fine. Yeah. Maybe like
I need like a second.
No way is it getting this. I just hang up on you then. My point of the Tampa pick was that you go, hey, maybe we don't love the grade on those two guys. We have Daniel Jones for this next year. We think Tampa is actually kind of like fool's gold with
Could
last
be a lottery
season.
ticket next year.
Yeah, that was kind of the point. But I don't know.
Okay.
Todd would shoot it down. All right, let's go back to Todd with this one. You're sitting there. You're running the Green Bay Packers, America's heartland. You know
it's
those
Drake
fans.
May. It's Drake May. It's not.
Malik Neighbors, Drake May.
Make it a little more complicated. So still on the board is Nate Wiggins, who I can't quit, from Clemson. And then, I mean, you think this is a Braylon Allen. This is a Johnny Newton
Johnny
podcast.
Newton,
Yeah, this is a Johnny Newton podcast before anything. So Wiggins, Newton available. And then for whatever reason, Brian Thomas fell, but it was late, and you don't know why.
I would go, knowing their needs, I'd have a hard time between knowing all their young receivers. I would go Nate Wiggins, but be hesitant not to take Newton here, depending on my the medical and everything else. But I would go Nate Wiggins here. I know cornerback is a need. I think offensive line is the priority. Then I think cornerback for Green Bay is number 2.
I go.
Any
Newton.
thoughts on that?
I'd take
Newton. I can see that.
Yeah.
Wiggins is interesting. He's starting to more conversations.
What do you think on that? What do you think on that?
I think 173 pounds is concerning to teams. I've heard Emmanuel Forbes a lot.
My comp was DRC.
Yeah, I could see that. I like Wiggins. I think
he's a great cover guy. He's very comfortable hanging on blocks. He is very, very much very comfortable in that position, and not in any way, shape, or form showing any urgency to get offset block to actually go make a tackle.
I completely agree.
Comfortable.
I think Cooper DeJean's going to be the third corner. I think Wiggins is in that maybe late first, but wouldn't shock me if he slides to the early second.
No.
I love that. I'm going to start using that all the time. Okay. All right, Daniel, here we go. You're running the Bills.
Okay.
It's a turnover, a receiver, but you're sitting there, pick number 28. Jared Verse is still on the board.
Ooh.
Adonai Mitchell is still there on the board. And let's see. JC Latham's there.
Oh, jeez.
What the hell?
I don't know. Apparently.
So you mean they traded up?
What type of videos came out on these guys? Like Laramie. By the way, if the Laramie Tunsil thing happened now, would anything even be
Someone asked me that recently. I was like, nah, he'd go right where he's projected.
Yeah. Well, I might.
Is offensive line that big of a need, though?
I might go off the grid. I mean, it's hard to pass up a big offensive lineman like that. I have Verse. Verse would probably be my highest rated player amongst that collection of guys. But to be honest with you, Ryan, I might take the other option. If that many guys are there, I'm Buffalo. I'm trading back, and I think Buffalo needs to come out with 2 wide receivers. So, to me, everybody's like, did they move up? And they might try and put the huge package together. I think it makes more sense in a draft with wideout depth like this. Buffalo should trade it back let somebody come up for one of those last guys, those last tackles or whatever. If I'm Buffalo, I want to get on day 2. I want 2 wide receivers on day 2.
Yep, I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to put somebody that shouldn't be there and then somebody else you would like, but then also up against the need because, I mean, look, it's a long draft. This sport is so different than basketball where you guys draft on need a lot to just be like, hey, well, how's the depth chart look? Okay, we need 2 guards. We actually need these positions that we're through free agency. Okay, last one before we go. Really mixed it up on this one. Denver is sitting there looking at some pieces dropping, Todd.
Yep.
Bowers is still there.
Okay.
Dallas Turner somehow, a couple spots later than you want. And J.J. McCarthy's just sitting there. You don't have to trade up for him. He's still sitting there at 12. But this week, he just tweeted, the world is fixed. When will they listen to the people? It's not about football. We need to start a revolution.
Sean Payton would love that. JJ and a psychologist.
That has nothing to do with these. I just was picking the quarterback. So so we're because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with a defensive end because every one of you guys would the same thing. Be like, I don't care. I don't care. Thinks about anything. Just go attack the quarterback.
Was the Janet Jackson album Revolution? Did she have an album Revolution?
I think so.
If I have a big grade on JJ, I'm like, he's a big Janet Jackson fan. You guys are misinterpreting this tweet. Like this is totally off.
You can sell anything, right?
Yeah.
What a callback from you.
Is it Revolution? Can we look that up? I need to confirm.
I think it's Rhythm Nation.
Oh, wow. Rhythm Nation sounds more accurate. Yeah.
I don't know. There might be a song.
We are a part of a Rhythm Nation. We are.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Enjoy Thursday night. Again, NFL Network, 8 Eastern for Daniel. And then McShay back with me after the first round Friday here on the show. Thanks every year for doing this. It was awesome.
I enjoy it, dude. We could do this for hours, man. So I love both you guys. You guys have a blast on Thursday.
I'm just excited because this is the first year in 20-something years of being able to do, I actually can sit back and watch DJ and Rich and CD and the gang. I've never been able to watch you on draft weekend, so I'm going to get up close and personal. So good luck to you, my man. I know how much goes into it, and I'm fired up to watch it.
Well, I miss seeing you out here, man, but I'm looking forward to the future.